Hello, everyone, and welcome to our very first podcast here, Bridging the Gap. I'm myself, Andrew Nicastro, a family member of a veteran, David Nicastro, veteran for over 18 years, right?
Yeah, 23 years of some semblance of a uniform, yeah.
And Adam Kukru. How long were you serving, Adam?
I was in for 4 years.
For 4 years?
In the Marine Corps,
Yeah. And I reached out to Adam with this idea because it's really important that we tell the stories of veterans. And Adam came right in, my brother came right in, and within a couple of days, we had a mission for what this podcast is going to be. And the mission of this podcast is to quiet the stigma of PTSD and mental illness while providing compassion and empathy for the life of a veteran. And that's where we begin here, folks.
Welcome.
What was that?
Dude,
What was
that
that?
was me trying to put some tables and microphones together.
That was our
and
first
just winging
episode
it on the
ever.
fly. Yeah. That was episode number 1 of Bridging the Gap Veterans Podcast.
And
Awesome.
that was in January
That was
of
in
2023.
So what does that make today?
I feel like we have something on the table to kind of let people know what's happening.
Yeah. Today is our
birthday.
birthday episode.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday,
Happy
Andrew.
birthday.
Happy birthday.
Isaac and Micah back there behind the curtain. Happy birthday to them. Streamography, Bridging the Gap is 1 year old exactly.
So I actually came downstairs this morning and was like, hey, guys, today's my birthday. To my wife and kids.
Yep.
My
They
daughter,
look at you like, what?
My daughter was like, no, it's not. I was like, yeah.
Oh,
It's a 1 year
kids are
birthday.
ruthless.
Oh, she just was like, you are not getting a
I'm
present.
impressed that V baked a cake. Like
I did. I
just
slaved.
all day long.
Isn't this amazing?
Like
I
the veteran
slaved.
service director doesn't have enough on her plate. She actually baked a cake and put
I
it on
did.
her plate.
And I molded the candle out of wax and everything. Yes, absolutely. That's my story. I'm sticking to it.
A lot's changed in 1 year.
Well, even production-wise, right? Even this morning, we had a production,
Yeah.
some more production help with Michael Dennis helping us out. Isaac Aiello, who's done a ton of production here at the studio. But just looking at the production itself, that's where me as a technical guy is like, oh my gosh, what was I thinking?
Yeah.
You've
screwed
come
up
a
stuff.
long
You screwed
way,
up
and
a
it's
lot in the beginning.
awesome.
We screwed up a lot.
Well, that's how you learn, right? You learn through some of your mistakes. That's how you grow. That's how you learn. That's how you become stronger at what you do. In this case, it's what you become stronger and more equipped to handle your craft. This is your
I
craft.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
One thing that hasn't changed, though, the mission.
Nope.
Never.
To quiet that stigma of PTS and mental illness
right.
that veterans are walking with every single day.
That's right.
And
That's
we
our
do that
purpose.
through relationships, education, and building the community
Storytelling.
and storytelling.
Yeah, and we're going to see a lot of stories today as we are going to go back in time throughout the year and show our audience some of our favorite clips. Some are very funny. Some are hard to watch.
Some are raw.
Some are raw. And we're meant to feel the rawness because all of it is part of the story of everything you just said, of that call to action, of mental illness, and those of us coming home with post-traumatic stress and what we've been through and what we experience, and coming back home and isolating and not feeling like we fit in. All of it.
Yeah.
All of it.
Yeah. So to get the ball rolling, because I think this is very relatable to what you're talking about,
Yeah.
our very first letter, our very first email that we got from an audience member.
Yeah.
I remember for me how impactful this was, because it was like, oh, people actually are listening.
Watch us.
People are watching.
You know, but the affirmation,
Yeah.
you know, was really big for me.
It really is. And you know I came on board a little later from your
thank you for
January
coming on, by
start
the way.
date. But even when I came on, it started to bring in or kind of shift some attention more towards some of the female veterans. And we have had female veterans reach out because they watched the podcast.
That's amazing.
So although they were at a different state or lived in a different state, and some have relocated to the Massachusetts area, we were able to help them navigate the different resources that are available to them within the VA, whether it's within their state or within our state, as well as navigate local resources that they have here in Massachusetts, so that they can begin their path of healing per se.
Yeah, I love it.
And just how that's why we're doing this.
Yeah. Help all veterans, no matter who, color, gender, everything. All of them are coming home with something on their plate. So let's get it out there and expose it, and that's what this is about.
Yep.
And so episode 2, we were able to read a letter from Bulldog. Let me bring this in.
Yeah, the comments were all supportive, and we got even comments of how to help the show better itself, from technical stuff to even what we can share. But one Vietnam veteran wrote an amazing story that I'd just like to share with the. He's given me permission. I'm going to use his call sign at the end. But he said, David, I just watched the podcast with you, your brother and Adam. God bless you guys for what you're all doing. The awareness and conversation about how you're healing spoke directly to my heart. I'm not sure how much of my story you all know, but yours and mine are more alike in some ways than you might imagine. Briefly, my wife and I both suffered with PTS for over 40 years. And remember, we don't want to call it a disorder. We want to call it post-traumatic stress, because we can have tools to move through this. So we both suffered from PTS for over 40 years. The result of my time in the Army and the 22 months and 11 days I was deployed with 1st Special Forces Group in Southeast Asia.
Yeah, Bulldog's story, amazing. Vietnam veteran, saw hell over there and war, and came home with post-traumatic stress. One, he wasn't welcome home. Anyone who's a Vietnam veteran understands that they were never welcomed home, and they had a different war to fight. And he isolated, got into addiction, and then we get into that toxic cycle where there could be abuse, and we passed it on to our family members. And I love that he exposed that, and through this Bridging the Gap, was able to write that letter. And Bulldog, thank you once again. I mean, he lost his wife, and that's very hard for anyone to lose someone they love so much. And I know he has a lot of healing he continues to do. He pours into us, the younger veterans.
So something that we don't really discuss often, and I've been on both sides of this aisle where I am the veteran, and I have experienced that firsthand traumatic trauma, but I'm also that spouse of a wartime veteran, and I understand that the weight that they carry on their shoulders, that they kind of put up this facade and create this barricade for themselves to protect themselves from the outside world. But sometimes the only time they can fully release some of their stress is behind closed doors at home, and the stress and trauma that puts on the families at home. So I very well understand Bulldog's testimony and both sides of that aisle, and what his spouse had also endured. And I wanted to bring back a comment that my predecessor, Adam, made in that clip, is to choose our words wisely, right? We discussed disabilities, right? You and I are very well aware of VA service-connected disabilities and the stigma that's associated with the term disability. And just as he mentioned, it's not necessarily a disability. It's not that you are saying that you are incapable of doing something. It's more so the openness that the VA has kind of put out there and said, hey, we understand that we took you in and you were a 100% whole person, and we admit that you are not being released from your time in service as a 100% being, and therefore we're going to compensate you for some of these conditions that you may encounter either while you were in service, shortly following your time in service, or 20, 30, 40, 50 years down the line following your time in service. These are conditions that you as an individual may not have encountered, or not have encountered to this extent had it never been for your time in service. So the terminology of disability does not necessarily make you disabled or incapable of doing something. It just means, this is the way the VA recognizes you and your service.
Some veterans struggle with that right there. They won't go to the VA for that compensation because they don't like that word disability, and they say, I'm not disabled, and there's a stigma.
It's a stigma that's associated with that word.
And that's why we want to quiet that stigma on every level. Family members, the veterans themselves, because there's no shame in asking for help.
None. That
you
is what we are here
deserve
for.
the help. Which actually is a perfect segue into the next clip, where for me, being the family member of veterans, I'm learning. I learned a lot. In fact, I say that specifically in this clip. But Adam said something that really resonated with me, and I think it really relates to what we're talking about here.
Does.
And when we were building this episode, the analogy you used, Adam, that really stuck with me as someone that doesn't know this process whatsoever and is not very familiar with this at all as a family member of a veteran. I am unfamiliar with all of this. Right. But you use the analogy of like taxes.
Yeah.
You know, we go to accountants for a reason because I don't know how to do my taxes. And yeah, there are QuickBooks or what, you know, whatever they have online. I don't like using any of them because I feel like I'm not getting the full benefit. So, which I guess brings me back to the point of the process is if you don't know what you're doing, if you don't understand, reaching out to a veteran services office.
It's your world, V.
Yeah,
That's me.
That's
That's
you.
me. Right. So I'm not here to judge you. I am not here to decide how the VA views and sees you. I'm here to help guide you. I'm here to help you navigate the resources that are available to you locally, at a state level, at a federal level, whatever is in the best interest of you, the individual self, the individual veteran. And what I may recommend to you may not be the same as I recommend to the next veteran that walks through that door, because each one of us are individual and our needs are individual.
I could be intimidated by paperwork.
Right.
And you're not, because you do. This
It's
is
what
your
I
job.
do.
It's
what I do.
your world.
Right. It is my world. And I'm here to kind of lessen that stress for you. I'm here to help you access those resources by lessening some of that stress, just through repetition of me doing it over and over again and having these pre-established relationships with a lot of these partnering agencies that we work alongside with or that we work with. I'm here to alleviate that extra added stress to you,
Right.
or to have
We
you
talked
navigate
about,
these resources.
I am a veteran who just got out. What do I do? Get that DD 214. That
Start
very
with
important,
us.
and come walk right in and talk to V.
Start with us. And what you need now may differ from what you may need a year from now.
Right.
But we are that centralized hub for you to, one, establish a relationship with, right? We want you to come in. We want you to get to know us. We want you to be comfortable in who we are and what we have to offer you. But should you ever need anything in the future, you've already developed that level of trust and knowledge that to know that we are here to help you regardless of what you feel about yourself or how you think about yourself. We are here to help you.
Yeah, I love it. That's good.
Yeah.
There's
I love the
no
analogy.
shame in getting help.
No.
No shame at all. And that was something from day one that we've been just really honing in on as veterans come in to tell their stories. So our audience at home, I feel like you're understanding the theme now. We're just going to be going back and forth with clips because this is so much fun. Like, come in here, and the next clip was from episode number 3. So that was Brother Dave here.
Yeah, my testimony.
Yeah. So coming in.
Beauty, you see still the greenery and everything like that. This is kind of a list of the Marines I served with that passed away. And as you can see, different areas they passed away. So Jeffrey Kirk was my best friend. He was a sergeant, fellow squad leader with me at the anti-terrorism unit. When you see Al Anbar province, that is Fallujah, those areas. And he's my best friend, man. He knew the insurgents were in the home, and he led his men. He didn't say, go do that. He said, come follow me. And he was the first one in that house. You just look how young we are, man. And
Yeah, the hardest part of being a veteran is losing the ones you love. And saying it out loud, I miss them, I love them, and I love all those guys. And when we go to war, you lose people.
Yep. So, when we were doing the recap last week of what the show is going to be, and we were rewatching that clip, initially I thought of, wow, look at that young guy. Who is that guy, right? But for some reason, that clip struck me differently. Just hearing you mention each one of their names kind of brought me back to my buddies, my pals, people who I served alongside who are no longer with us, whether they were killed in action or they were, they died by suicide or they died by something after the fact. That's what resonated with me this time around. And it's so weird how differently the same clip can impact an individual person within a 1-week time span.
That's right. And it hurts to lose people. And there's a process called grief that most of us don't want to go through because there's pain there, and it makes you think of them and the situation and everything. And I'm still hurt. because war hurts and losing people hurts. And it's okay to expose the pain and the tears that come with it and that feeling inside.
You got to put it out there.
And you got to expose it and put it out
You have to
there.
expose it. You have to put it out
Right.
there, because that's the first step to healing. It's putting it out there, getting it off your shoulders and putting it out there into the world, so that someone else can accept it and help you learn to cope with it.
Yeah, it's good.
Along the way, I've heard you all talk about the brother and sisterhood, bleeding green,
Bleeding green.
that military veterans have together, and it's totally understandable. You all can understand and relate in a way that a civilian cannot. That's why I love things like your coffee socials, where, you know, if you knew about these at another time, Dave, maybe you could have
Right.
opened up sooner.
Right.
If you were surrounding yourself by veterans that were walking the walk.
Absolutely.
And saying, it's okay, man, talk to me.
Yeah.
Tell me what you've
They
been
can see it
through.
in your eyes. You don't have to say a word at that social. You could sit there and people know you're struggling, and you just start to hear the language. You hear the Vietnam veterans talking and sharing, and a small opening begins to happen. And,
Yeah.
and that coping.
Yeah.
And that may be months later, right? You may be going
Years
for
later,
months,
possibly. I don't
years
know.
later, before finally you open.
Yeah,
But that's
yeah.
okay.
You know, we have individuals that come into the coffees and they don't utter a single word. They just sit there in silence.
Yeah.
And sometimes, you know, we just allow them to just take their time. And
Mm-hmm.
I understand that at some point in time, when they're ready to speak to me and they're ready to talk, they will pull me aside and say, "Hey, you got a minute?" And that's when they're ready to open.
That's
And
awesome.
that's okay.
Yeah,
It is
that's
okay.
okay.
If it takes you to a year to
That's right.
open up, if it takes you 5 years to open up, or if it takes you 5 minutes to open up, we are here
Your
for
brother
you.
and your sister's ready to hear.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
provide that safe
Yep.
space.
Yep. And if not me, then the person that's sitting beside me or the person that's sitting across from me. If not me, someone that you connect with, someone that you feel comfortable with, someone that you feel like you're ready to open up to. And I will not take offense to that if you don't feel like you want to talk to me because I'm a female or
Yeah,
whatever the
throw it out
case
there,
may be,
right.
because I don't understand, because I'm not the same era as you.
Right.
That's okay, but I can connect you with somebody who may be more knowledgeable
That's
in
right.
that topic.
Yeah,
Right,
right. That's
right.
good.
And
I almost cried there on that one.
we have another clip
feeling
here. Maybe this clip will get you. So I'm going to bring it up.
What I want to go to as far as bridging the gap.
Yeah.
How would you what would you say to 17, 18, 19-year-old Dave knowing what he's about to go through?
Wow. Wow. Yeah. Because I'll be honest, when I was doing all that stuff, you can't really process it. You know, it's something that it's really hard to do, is to process while you're on mission. Because if I'm sitting there opening up all the pain, I might be a bubbling mess that might not be able to do his job and his mission. It's so hard. I would want to tell someone wanting to go in the military, I would let them know, I want to know where their heart's at and where their mind's at, because you got to know what you're getting into. And this is possibly what you can see. And in the end, is it worth it, right? Because remember, we talked about my early childhood. I have all this trauma, and then you go into the military and you pack all this trauma, and if it's not being processed, it leaves you later on in life a complete mess inside, shut down, not communicating, depressed, suicidal ideologies, just a complete mess of a person. I would say that you're going to go through a lot of hard things, but there will be a time where you need to process this. There must be an outlet. There has to be an outgoing process to get it all out.
I still,
Would you say the same?
I would. And
I agree.
Yeah, I would. It has to be exposed in some way.
You need to process it.
You need to process it. It can't be. Adam had said that at war right now, they're attempting to have leaders trained in process after a very difficult mission. Saying something out into the open, like, "Hey guys, that was really hard. I just want you to know we lost so and so. 2 people. I just want you to know it's okay to feel this way, and there's grief there. There is still a mission ahead, but know that we see the hurt and we know that this was tough." And so I'm still kind of chewing on that to see if that's right
I'm
as well.
curious. Right, I'm curious to see how effective that would be, because I
Right.
feel like my 18, 19-year-old self, if someone is speaking to me and saying it's okay for you to process it, I'd be like, okay, well, whatever. Can we,
Yeah.
you know, is this over so I can go back to my
Correct.
bunk and finish my episode of Friends? Like,
Right.
I don't. What do you know? Because I'm still mission focused,
That's right.
mission driven. My mind is still on the mission. I'm not focusing on the trauma that I just experienced or what I just did. My adrenaline is still running, and I'm still mission focused. So I'm curious to
I am too.
see
I don't know how it
how
works,
effective. And we
right?
won't know. We won't
We
know
won't, yeah.
for maybe
Unless
a
someone
decade
comes
or
home and
two.
tells us
Right. We
this is
won't
what
know
they were
for a few
doing.
decades how effective that actually was.
Right. It's an interesting question. I like
But
that.
it's not. It's worth a try.
I agree.
It's worth a try.
I agree.
I mean, one thing we know that does work, and we keep harping on it, is that peer-to-peer support.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's
At the
right.
very least, gathering the troop together, and just even opening up the floor. Let's say no one talks the first time. Let's say no one talks for the first 10 times. Maybe the 11th time someone just talks.
Yeah. Just sitting around in a group like with V overseas, like she said,
Right.
with friends, watching that peer support, just the closeness. Eventually, you have to touch on some of the hardest things that allow the struggle to even occur, the
Right.
post-traumatic stress. Is that the place to do it?
Right.
We don't
Me and you,
know,
we
but
don't know,
but
right,
you know,
but-
I mentioned earlier putting it out there, putting
Yeah.
yourself out there, putting these words out into the world, and maybe that may be effective. You know, we're just
Right,
putting
right.
this out there, so you're no longer carrying all of that heavy
Doors
weight
open.
yourself.
Yeah, right.
Now you have a group of peers who are here to help one another in carrying that load.
Right.
Right.
You know, we don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's next, my brother?
So next, because over the course of our first year, we had veterans come in tell their stories, but then we had resources come in. And so in this case, this is our good friend Kim here. Let me bring it up.
My personal experience is what has eventually led to my career change, my professional work, and really sort of my vocation now. But prior to April of 2010, I knew nothing about any of this, anything related to suicide at all. April 21st, actually yesterday, was the 13th year anniversary of my brother John's suicide. He was a Marine veteran and died by suicide at home. And John was my only sibling. He was a good deal younger than me. But like many families who I think experienced this, we knew nothing about any of this. Massachusetts is fairly resource rich in resources for suicide loss, and we were connected to support right away, which made all the difference in the world. And it was peer-based support. So I think anything that a human being goes through that is pretty traumatic and and sudden and damaging, when you can connect with peers who have been through that as well, that alone can be incredibly healing. So, the fact that you are opening this up to other veterans to come in, and I mean, that again, that can be healing. Just having the space to tell your story and to have someone else say, I've been there too. I felt that way too.
Yeah.
There's
She
nothing
speaks truth.
harder. Yeah, there's like when they die at war, like Jeff did, you have the story you tell yourself, he consummated the ultimate sacrifice. There's a hero.
He's a hero.
Come
There's
home,
a pride,
new
there's a
war,
sense of pride
new
there.
battle, and they die of suicide. Wow, does that just
Mm-hmm.
floor you when a friend or her brother committed suicide and she exposed it,
Mm-hmm.
and you heard her say it, peer support, groups, resource rich, here, you're not alone, it's a battle.
Mm-hmm.
Before it even gets to that point, let's do preventative measures like this show, stories, and just exposing that darkness.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that's a great watch, that episode. Kim was amazing.
She
and
was.
She walked us through almost that roller coaster of emotion
Mm-hmm.
that she battled as a sister, as a sibling, and how she processed and how she was able to navigate it is really inspirational.
Yeah.
It's almost like she used logic, where sometimes logic can't even help the cause, but she was able to do
Yeah.
it in her way,
Mm-hmm.
which just goes to show you how everyone does it in their own way. There's the only wrong way is to just
Not do it at all.
exactly,
That's right.
Not try.
exactly.
Yeah, and give
Exactly.
up and quit, which we've had that in us if we struggle with post-traumatic stress, the isolation, the dark thoughts, the just hiding away to where I want this to end. I need this pain that's now manifested physically because it started mentally and emotionally, and it's attacking you in so many different ways, and you want to end it. And that's where John got to. And seeing Kim pour her life into Stop Soldier Suicide, because now she's helping those who are going through the same thing she did. It's beautiful.
It is.
Kind of how she flipped it upside down and says, I'm going to help those. And that's where me helping at the Welcome Home Initiative and treat centers, you doing your job, we're pouring into other people.
Yep. Suicide definitely
Yeah.
hits close to home in our family. We had my uncle pass, he completed suicide while I was in Iraq. So I got news while I was calling home that he had completed suicide, and he was actively serving himself as well. So that is very hard news to take. It was even harder when you are in a combat zone and you really don't have the time to process it. And, sometimes I wonder, have I fully processed it? And sometimes I wonder, like, I have processed it. So it's very, there's a lot of uncertainty when it comes to learning to cope, when it comes to healing modalities or coping modalities. And I know we'll hit up on this in a future episode with Donna, how if you try one modality, it doesn't work, move on to the next.
Yep.
Try
Don't give
another
up.
one.
Don't quit.
Right, don't quit. Just
Yeah.
keep going.
That's right. Perfect.
And I'm excited about this next clip.
Why?
This
Who
is
is
the introduction of our girl V over here.
Don't give it away. Just show it.
Thank you as well for making sure to bring V into our lives. What a pleasure it is. I've really gotten to work with you the last few weeks here.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I mean, the vibrancy you bring and the passion you bring for veterans, serving as the interim Cape Ann Veteran Services Director. So thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm happy that Adam has made the connection here. I think we definitely hit it off from the moment we really met each other at our coffee one day. And then when Dave gave me a call and said he's interested, I said, okay, what
We're
can
in.
I do? Because that's
Yeah.
what I'm here for. I'm here to help spread the word. I'm here to help connect veterans, to help connect families to the resources that are out there for them. I am here to keep my door open for them in any way possible that they would see fit.
And we love you. And you
Yes,
do bring
we
a
do.
vibrancy, and you brought a whole new flavor to the show.
I definitely brought a different
Even though we
flavor.
make fun of each other and still do.
You can almost feel like a shift though, like in your speech, where once you started talking
I
about
was
the
so
veterans,
nervous.
yeah. But once you started talking about what you do for the veterans,
Passion, yeah.
then you actually settled in. And you could feel that shift
yeah.
mid conversation
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah, I was so nervous. I was so nervous. I don't know if you could tell through me stuttering. I feel like I'm still nervous.
Yeah,
I
but
still get nervous.
That was a real first time doing
That
it
was
together.
raw.
We were getting to
Yeah,
know
yeah.
each other the whole podcast.
That was
and
like
each other.
your first
Yes,
episode.
It was, where we were just disastrous.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You know, but
Oh, so our
it's
first episode
okay.
was rough.
We're beautiful disasters. That's
Yeah,
all.
yeah,
That's all
yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, so good.
And it's been a match made in heaven ever since, hasn't
Oh,
it?
it's been great. It's been great, and we do laugh at each other.
We do, and
have
that's
fun.
okay, right?
That's right.
That's the perk of this all is that we can laugh at each other, we can poke fun at each other, but we are still here for each other, for
That's
one
right.
another. And if you ever called me and needed anything, I'm
Yeah.
here for you, and vice versa.
Yeah, bleeding green.
Mm-hmm.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, it's great. What was the next one?
We were making a couple of introductions that episode.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, because we introduced our good friend, our very good friend that we met, that Dave's known for quite a while, but V and I met last week, Bill Nelson. Bill, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Doing well. It's real bright and nice out here on the left coast. It's fun talking to you guys on the right coast.
Oh, Bill.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, we're gonna see it in a later episode again, but Bill did pass away in October of 2023, and V instantly connected with Bill, their personalities and his jovial nature, and you guys were
We really hit it off.
Yeah.
really well. And
Talk about like
Vietnam
that
veteran.
camaraderie of you guys just like poking fun at each other, but in that
That's
loving way.
Yeah.
You can feel the love in the poking fun.
And he's a Vietnam veteran. I'm talking 5 decades difference,
Yeah.
but it didn't
Right,
matter.
No.
It didn't matter. It was a beautiful moment to watch you two when we were doing the pre-episode. That connection. And
That
that's
instant connection.
It's like you've
Yeah.
known him
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah, I felt like he was my dad.
Yep.
You know, I felt like he's my relative, and he's always been there, and we're gonna go have dinner on Sunday at their house.
Yeah.
You know.
And that's with certain personalities, those older generations. That's how I feel. They play the dad, older like grandfather role for us as we're struggling in our life. They're saying we did too, and we still do sometimes. So let's do it in a group setting. I met Bill at the Welcome Home Initiative Veterans of War Retreat, as I did many of my friends like Paul and Donna coming up. Wow, what a community and peer support this is.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So wow.
And it just goes to show you that just through an email, a phone call, the connections you can make.
Yeah.
If you didn't get connected with Welcome Home,
That's right.
you wouldn't have known Bill, you wouldn't have known
No.
Paul, you wouldn't have known Donna.
No, none of them. And I
We
just
wouldn't
see
be
such
here.
courage.
We would not be here.
We wouldn't be
Legit.
here.
Wow.
Think about that.
Just all the dots that have to be connected for any of this to occur. It's just
You
blowing
had
my
to be
mind.
vulnerable for
Yeah.
all of us. I know that sounds weird, but you had to be vulnerable in order for
Yeah.
all of this to become
Yeah,
whole.
I ripped open and raw and had to choose to heal and be different than I was feeling and than I was. It's hard. It's not easy. But there's so many blessings that have come from it to meet a man like Bill and to make these connections. I love it. Peer support.
Yeah, yeah. And that peer support allows us to talk about Bill a little more.
It was also my 21st birthday. Here
Oh,
I
that
am.
handsome guy. Wait, that's you?
There.
I always thought you had a white beard and you were I didn't know you were young at one
You were
point.
always Santa?
I thought you were always Santa Claus. That was really
Now
good.
you're gonna see a picture of my coming home cake, and a lot of people that got married will be
Aw,
really jealous of the
Betty.
cake. That's my wife. Yep, we were just engaged there. That's my coming home cake.
Yeah, right there.
Oh,
And
Bill.
yeah.
Having fun. Just they were young Vietnam veterans. They wear the hats, they wear the coats. Sometimes you see they're representing their old units and the branch.
They're finally proud to show their service
Yeah.
as they should be.
Absolutely.
Wow, I
As
love
they
hearing
sh-
that.
Well,
Yeah.
it's true. It is a dark part of our history where that era was not as welcomed as the rest of us, and they were not as fortunate as the rest of us. And to be honest, our generation owes them a lot of gratitude because they're the ones that opened up. They're the ones that created this change. Unfortunately, they had to endure this neglect in order for them to stand up for us and show the world how to properly
Yes.
welcome back a wartime
Absolutely
veteran.
right. And exposing the story, Bill started to heal. He told the story when he started to talk to his dad, I believe another uncle and a grandfather who all served in World War I, World War II, like these eras. He was able to expose it by sharing with them. That's when he began to heal, showing that we need to expose it and talk about it. It's okay to talk about it. And I love seeing his wife Betty, who at the retreat centers acts as a mom figure. And with the younger veterans she sees hurting, will rally around them like Bill does. And just talk with them and love on them. So
Was
just
Betty there
beautiful.
for your November retreat?
She was not. No, because they were in California, which is very difficult for them to come to Virginia Beach. But no, she was not. But she continues
Okay.
to come online. Obviously, Bill's passed away, and she made an appearance a couple weekends ago on the computer and came and hung out with us veterans on the Saturday
I feel
morning
like
group.
you're all her extended family as
Yeah.
well.
And when she checked in, we were like,
You're
you
her
know,
healing
oh
as
my
well.
gosh.
yeah.
Yeah.
She loved seeing us, and we loved seeing her. She
Yeah.
represents Bill to us.
Right.
So it's just so cool. I'm going to send this to her, obviously.
And then just a quick shout out to Bill's family, making him a cake. Like, they truly celebrated him.
Yeah.
Which, you know, like you had mentioned, for some veterans that come home, they don't have quite that celebration.
Right.
It's just can be so different for each veteran.
Yeah.
And sometimes as family members, we don't know how to act. Quite frankly, around our veterans, we have no idea what the right thing to do is, whether to even bring up the military, because that's like walking on eggshells sometimes.
Sure.
So kudos to his family, just saying, no, we're going to celebrate you. You deserve to be celebrated.
That's right. And we're celebrating every one of them now.
Yeah, we are.
We'll do that.
Speaking of celebrating, I think we should take a walk. What do you guys think? You guys want to go for a walk?
Well, I'm gonna have to lose your scenery here as I move back in the car. It's starting to rain on me now.
I love the
It ain't gonna
laugh.
rain on your parade, though. For our viewers, that is a real. That's not his fake background. That's an actual, not a virtual. That's a real background. He's down in Virginia Beach, in a beautiful area. Close We're just to going on a Van walk with him. So we're all this just going is for a walk.
This is
first on the podcast.
Yeah, it is a first.
Paul's taking us
That's
on
okay.
a walk.
That's
Virginia.
okay.
I love it.
We're here for the adventure.
And our viewers missed earlier that he was by a lake, and the sign over his right shoulder was "Beware of bombs and things in the water."
Yeah.
Munitions. So now, welcome to Paul's car, everyone.
I love it.
Now that we have our steps in for the day,
Oh, that was so good. As soon as you started
Paul
doing
is
it,
awesome.
I was just like, Paul, let's just send
Where are we
it.
going?
Yeah,
Where are we
I'm with
going?
you.
Usually everyone is nervous. They set themselves up to where they're comfortable, and we get into a podcast. Paul's just out there, and he's just walking, and I loved it. It was
You know,
beautiful.
why did he decide to be? Did he have something else going on? Did he forget?
He works in Dam Neck. He works in Virginia Beach. I believe it's in Dam Neck. He's still contracted by the military. So I think he had taken off work to do the podcast. So he was out of work in the woods.
We don't really know.
With the sign, remember the sign? The
I remember
bombs.
the sign.
I'm like, where are you taking us? It was great.
That was so
Oh
good.
my gosh!
So once
There's
again,
some sort of
veterans having
range or
fun.
something, right? It was a
I
shooting
feel like it
range or
was-
something like that
right,
because we
that's what
could
it
see
felt
the
like.
bullet holes. And
That's right. We talked about that.
It's definitely what it felt
It
like.
was definitely the most interesting podcast when it comes to the person on the other side and where they were taking us and where it was. But he took us somewhere else. So we're having fun, but then what we're about to see.
But then it gets raw, and that's how quickly we can switch. We
That's right.
can be, poking fun at one another, and we can joke and laugh and just have fun. But then, in a moment's notice,
right.
you can flip the script, and we'll get to see Paul's rawness now.
Yeah.
That Friday the 11/18, along almost synchronized with the movie. There was an explosion on the movie that the next thing, the split second thought was, man, that was loud for a movie.
Wow.
And then the guy sitting in front of me, chair and all, was tossed over my head and back across the room. As the lights went out, it got pitch black and just filled the room with this acrid smoke. It was estimated 400 to 700 pounds of C4 that blew like a 40-foot by 40-foot hole in the side of this warship.
Yeah.
And just, it knocked me back in my chair, and it was pretty stunning. And just chaos from that point forward, trying to find a way out of there, trying to find, some good air to breathe. And, your training kicks in at that point. I was trying to stay low and stay out of the smoke, but the smoke just filled the room. I made it back to where the door should have been. It was just a mangled mess. So I made it to the other door that goes into the galley, and there I stepped in. The water was up to like my shin. I ran into one of the senior chiefs coming out of there, and he said, "Master Chief, I don't think we can get out this way. It's pretty mangled in there." So we both agreed to go to the false bulkhead which is, it's just, instead of it being a half inch, or not a half inch, but a quarter inch steel, which is a little harder to break through. The false bulkheads are like a very thin steel that is with corrugated, sort of like cardboard is, but with rolled sheet metal.
Yeah.
So knocking on this to let folks know we're on the inside and get them to tear into this to get us out of there. And I had a shipmate, grab me by the arm.
It hits you
Every time.
every single time.
We've seen that. I
We've
don't
seen
know.
it a few
Yeah,
times
quite
now.
a few.
For the audience, he's a survivor of the USS Cole terrorist bombing. It's not just a movie. It's not just something you see on TV. He lived in that ship, and he was there in Aden Harbor when Al Qaeda had claimed responsibility, Bin Laden, and blew it up. When I heard him tell that story at the Welcome Home Initiative, he was still very raw and emotional through it. How can you not be? It's part of who you are.
And he was when we were recapping it the week before
yeah.
that taping. I mean, you can tell it hit him really hard just reliving that. And then us having to just take a moment afterwards because it is a very heavy topic. It's our reality. And Paul hits on sometimes you don't have time to process. He was mission mode and he knew something bad just happened, but he didn't have time to process what just happened. He's on mission mode and he knows that he needs to get as many people off of this boat and let everybody know on the other side, hey, we're here. We need help. Come get us.
Wow. That's just unbelievable. And me and him are really connected because I was in Nairobi, Kenya during that bombing in 1998, and that was my first mission. So to be part of that group of terror, in terrorism in that world, it's a very small community of people. And Dar es Salaam, Tanzania was the other embassy. Bin Laden and Al Qaeda was a name we knew very well, and we learned it very fast being part of that. So just amazing, the connections.
As the civilian of the group, which I bring that perspective. just being a part of this peer support group, right? Because that's literally, if you want to think of it that way, that's what this is. We're supporting each other, and we're supporting our veterans that come in. I've learned that there's no answer. There's no answer you can give that will make some of this make sense, but just being a listening ear
Yeah, that's it.
is enough sometimes.
Right.
You're right.
That's right. Hold the space for a man like Paul or a Vietnam veteran or an Iraq or Afghanistan, whatever your battle and war is. Can you hold the space just to hear them? Right. You don't have to apologize. You didn't cause the problem. Just hear them. Just listen. Let them expose it.
And again, letting us put it out into the world, letting us, you are my person, and I'm just going to put this out there. You don't have to carry all of that weight, but you're helping me take it off of my shoulders and just put it out there.
The rucksack,
That's
right? Remember we
The
talked about that
rucksack.
early in our
We did.
year.
That's right. All the rocks are in it.
Yeah.
We make it heavy, the experiences we've been through. Can we be a friend that takes out rock by rock and carry, not all of it,
Not all of
but
it.
just provide the space while
just-
we empty it?
Right.
Yeah.
We can't
Lessen
carry it
the weight,
anymore.
right?
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Is this the,
yeah, so now we go to another video here. So this is a,
love this one.
yeah, this is cool.
Oh.
I have a conversation about the local intelligence and I'm trying to collect more information about the landmines and the farm fields. So he gives me the coordinates of anti-personnel and anti-tank mines. We will check it just right now. Let's go.
Don't give up and don't give in. You're worth more, so don't pretend. I won't let you fall away. Get back up, you won this day. There'll be troubles all along. Don't forget to sing this song. I'll be with you, take your stand. Don't forget you're in my hand. Tears me down to the begging forest. Heart so loud as a beast in my chest. I can't get down, no, you can't have the best of me. No, the devil's got no hold on me. No, you can't have the best of me. No, the devil's got no hold on me.
You know what I love about this podcast? We found our way onto the ground of Ukraine, the Ukraine-Russia war.
Thankfully to
crazy?
Sean O'Laughlin.
Isn't that
Isn't
crazy?
it amazing?
Before anything had happened.
Yes.
Yeah.
I want to say a stat for our audience. Sean, a good friend, had been on the ground with the Ukrainian deminers. And there's so many mines right now that are being set in place by Russia with their tactics and what they do. If the war ended right now, it would take approximately 80 years to demine the unexploded ordnance in mines. And that war ain't even close to ending.
80
80
years.
years. That's just, and you just saw a little glimpse of it. Not a movie, real life on the ground.
And how many more have been planted
Correct.
since that video?
Correct.
Right.
This was this was last year that we had this episode, and now here we are in 2024.
When you see the technician, I'll call him. When you see him, the deminer poking around it, my heart is like,
Yeah, you just stop. It's like,
be careful,
It's real, yeah.
don't touch it.
right? Leave that. That's,
Yeah,
that's
right,
a
we want to
mine.
run away. These men run towards the mines and have to get rid of them, or people die.
There's so many emotions that go
Unbelievable.
through watching that video, right? So I'm like watching this video and I'm like jamming to the music, like, yeah. And it's taking me back to my military days, like,
Yes.
yeah. And then you really start to think of what is actually happening and the reality of that long strip of mines at the very end. And
War is
it's like,
nasty.
this is the world that we live in.
That's
This
right.
is the war that we are actively fighting in right now. This
Nasty.
is crazy.
Veterans, war is nasty. If you've been to one, it's nasty, it's hell, and humans are not meant to sustain that and go to war. It's not natural. We come back different. Yeah. We come back different, and that's the truth. And it's okay. We acknowledge we come back different, and we need this help.
There's a haunting feeling to it, right? When you actually think about it and see videos like that.
Yeah.
But then also finding the comfort in knowing that you have support.
Yeah.
You do have support. You may have
We
to go
are
out and find
fortunate
it.
enough to have the support here home.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. I like these next few videos myself.
Talk about people that give support.
Yeah.
How about this one?
About V, so I love this.
Why am
Vet
I
podcast
surprised
number
at seeing
8.
all of these?
We've been here about V, so I love this. Vet podcast number 8. We've been here 8 months, and today we get to learn about our very own V. Amazing. It is great. So I have questions, and she's going to get into stories. You're going to get to see pictures of V. This is fun. What do you think, V? How do you feel? How do you feel?
Fun for you.
I've been across the table on this one, testimony day.
I feel like I'm in the hot seat here.
You are.
Yeah.
This is great.
I love Testimony Day, but it's just having a little more fun with zinging each other. It was one of my
So
favorites.
that was episode number 8, right?
That was episode
So
number
everyone,
8.
go watch episode 8.
No, don't.
V hasn't even watched her full episode.
I
She
have
doesn't
not.
like. She
I
crushes
do not
herself.
like to watch
You're hard
myself
on yourself.
video. Isn't everybody? Aren't you hard on yourself as well?
Yeah,
I am.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I am.
I feel like that's how we are as,
That's
as
human nature.
human nature,
Yeah,
to
yeah,
be
yeah.
hardest on
For most.
ourselves.
So can we be more hard on you? Can we keep going?
I
And,
think we
and
should look at
a
some
few
pictures. What do you think?
Sure, whatever.
Feliciano is the last name now. Feliciano. Okay.
So I told Dave this story off camera, but I'll tell the
Yeah,
world
yeah.
where V came from.
Yeah, where did V come from?
So my maiden name is Feliciano, and everyone used to call me Feliciano until I got my sergeant stripes, and everyone started saying Sergeant Feliciano, but then that kind of became
Too long.
kind of a tongue twister.
It's 4 syllables.
Sergeant Feliciano.
Yeah, too much.
Right. That's a lot.
That's a lot for
we
us in the military.
Yeah, it is. So we shortened it to Sergeant Fee. And then when I
Yep.
got out of the military, that's my husband there. He was
Yep.
still in. So I still remained in the surrounding area. So I was still in contact with a lot of my friends, a lot of the soldiers that I was worked alongside. And they didn't know what to call me. So they were like, well, do we call you Sergeant Fee even though you're not in anymore? And I said, no, you guys can just call me V.
I love
right?
that.
It's the
Yeah, that's where it
same-
came
it's the
from.
same as
V
Sergeant
E
Fee.
E, so it's V, so everyone knows.
So that's where V is shortened for my first
Is
name.
this my
of course,
favorite photo
but
yet? Is this my favorite photo?
That's my favorite.
That's my favorite photo right there. Look at this, everybody.
So this one, I believe, was in Korea. This one was in Korea. And the funny thing about
money.
this photo is that I can literally sleep anywhere. If you know me, you know that I love my naps and I can fall asleep anywhere. And this is proof right there
So
that I can literally sleep.
The most uncomfortable place to be,
Not for
first of all,
me.
is in a Humvee,
Well, not for me.
surrounded by
clearly.
metal, and she is sleeping in a metal Humvee.
Passed out.
Looking like it's sucking a thumb. The position
does look
looks
like I'm sucking my
horrible, neck and everything, and she's passed out.
I
My
was
favorite photo.
I sleep anywhere.
I would
it's
be
the
that
weirdest
proves it.
thing. It is the weirdest thing that I can sleep anywhere.
It's just there was one place I couldn't sleep. It was the most uncomfortable I'd ever been. Was in a Humvee. The box, the metal.
It's tight in there, huh? You have
It is.
no room in
We
there.
don't even go to the movies anymore because I fall asleep through the movies. At the movies.
And that's
I-
expensive. That's expensive
Yeah, so
sleep right there.
why even bother anymore?
Yeah.
Oh, it's good.
When we do watch a movie at home, Brendan's usually like, "Are you gonna stay up for it?"
No. Yeah, and you're like, I can't make promises.
No,
I
just,
sleep in Humvees.
just fill me in the part that I sleep for.
Oh, this next one. Oh, I like this one.
Yes.
It's one of my favorite podcasts. We started this podcast 9 months ago. This is our 9th episode because 22 a day was a number which Kim had said we don't want to label anything 22 a day because a certain veteran with suicidal ideologies might say I'm one of them, 22 a day. But what I loved when we met was that you had updated us on something.
Oh, yes, that it's actually 17 a day.
How about that?
Yeah.
From 22 a day, the number has been researched and done again, and it's down from 22 to 17. And I had asked, why? Why is that down? And you had mentioned combinations of certain things that are working.
Oh, yeah. Actually, I forgot that we talked about
Right.
this. But I was just talking to someone else this morning, and we were talking about how suicide prevention, suicide awareness is not just one thing. It's a multitude of
Yes.
things. connecting directly to veterans, providing places where they can connect with other veterans, connecting with them before they get out of the military. There's lots of different ways that.
I think that was it. Yeah.
And you said the other day, one's too many.
One's too many.
We got to keep lowering that number.
One is
Let's
too
bring
many.
that number down.
That's our call to action right there. We're doing this so no one gets hurt, so no one takes their own life, because we love them and they mean too much. One's too many.
Yeah, and one important fact that I wanted to bring up about Lowell Vet Center and Tiffany's role, and why the Lowell Vet Center and any vet center is really important, and what makes them different from other facilities, is that the Lowell Vet Center is not in a medical facility. It's not in a medical setting, it's not Bedford. It is not Bedford. And if you've wandered the halls of Bedford, you know that can be scary,
Veterans
right?
can struggle there.
Right. And there's a stigma that's associated, again, with a stigma, right? There's a stigma that's associated with seeking help, and especially in a medical facility. And with the vet centers being a neutral space, it kind of becomes more welcoming and more open for, a veteran to navigate or to at least initiate the first step in seeking
the information doesn't go to Bedford. It's not going to the VA.
It is 100% confidential. It is confidential. And if I remember correctly, they offer services not only for veterans, but law enforcement as well, right? Don't they offer?
I feel like she said yes to that. Families as well, all encompassing. And we tell our vets, walk into the Lowell Vet Center, go see Tiffany. CV, connect with her so she can make that
and
connection.
I'll connect you with Tiffany.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And so,
and Tiffany taught us, certified us, I should say, recently. A few months ago, she certified us. We did a mental health first aid course, and she was our instructor.
Really? That's
and
awesome.
we are certified mental health first aiders, which means we are equipped to recognize initial steps when someone is in need of mental health first aid. So as you would render first aid to someone who is hurt, it's up here too. And she helped us find key signs to look for and how to navigate your way around different situations with an individual who's in need of mental health first
aid. It was a
aid.
very resource-rich episode with Tiffany. She was amazing. We can move on to episode 10, Andrew.
Episode number 10.
Bill Nelson's poem. This caught my rawness. This
is a tribute to Bill.
Yeah.
Remember those who stood the test, the flag in the drawer.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Bridging the Gap podcast. Hard one to kind of talk to after that. So Bill Nelson was on episode number 5. We urge you all to go and listen to that podcast. That was just a little sneak peek, but what an amazing soul. And Bill is near and dear to our hearts, and I just want to honor Bill so much. He had passed away, was it last week, Dave?
Yeah, early last week, and I didn't know how hard it would be to see that, and it's pretty hard. For those of you out there, he was a Vietnam veteran. I'm an Iraq, Afghanistan veteran, and I met him at a Welcome Home Initiative, Veterans of War retreat. He was one of the greatest men I knew. He didn't only talk the talk and spirituality and Jesus and what he's done for his life and just how much he's changed in 50 years, and he walked it too. So many people can talk it, but Bill walked it.
Jeff was in Iraq and he passed away. And we come home as a new war, and losing Bill felt the same way, And it's hard. So we're supposed to process through that, and it sucks to lose people, even now. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay to hurt. And I didn't serve with Bill in Vietnam, but we served together when we get out, and that's what that meant. That's what that represents. That's what the veteran community is now. So I just love that. Yeah, that showed my rawness. I couldn't even hide that.
Yeah.
Can't do it now.
And you have support.
You shouldn't have to.
That's right. Shouldn't have to.
You shouldn't have to.
I like it. That was a good one in there. Catching me crying. Make V nervous and make me cry. That's what we do.
Yeah. Yeah. And we bring up the resources, like our good friend Donna, who was just a plethora of resources.
Everyone to take note.
It may have. Oh no, the picture stayed.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect.
Yay. What are we looking at?
I went to Israel with an organization, a faith-based organization called Heroes to Heroes.
Yeah, that was a quick one, but yeah. Donna, what was the number, Dave? 15 organizations that she was in and out of.
That woman has tried almost everything out there. She's tried so much. And veterans, when you're struggling and you try one thing and it doesn't work and you quit, Donna's showing you ain't quitting. You keep going and you try. And she is a part of so much. Hero to Heroes, that was, is that what it was? Hero to Hero, right?
Yep.
There's so many different organizations, and we wanted to highlight Donna and her efforts as an amazing veteran who recognizes the struggles and continues to try out resources and just try out. Beautiful.
And talk about a Bridging the Gap champion. Like, she is out there promoting us.
Right.
One of our next guests in the next few months is because Donna made some introductions.
Connected us with this gentleman. She's amazing. She
is
advocates for
incredible.
veterans, and she's healing in community, and she continues to heal. She is an inspiration. And we're going to show you a few more photos of her.
Yes, we are.
On her travels.
That's me there. I was in one of the place. I forgot what the location, but I was pretending like I was in that movie with Samson Delilah.
Oh, yeah, holding up the pillars.
The one weird thing, and he was
Yep.
trying to knock down the.
Oh, yeah, that's amazing.
temple.
I think
Yeah.
you could have done it if you just had longer arms. So cool. Oh, my goodness, what a great photo.
Masada was I forgot the name of the animal.
Camel.
Well, did the camel have a name? Did like you call him
Camel,
Richie
camel,
or like what was the name of the camel?
Yeah, camel.
Just camel? How many have ridden a camel?
I love camels.
That was the first time
Why
I
do you
ever
love
rode on a
camels?
camel.
We go to some locals farms,
Yep.
and there's actually a camel at a couple of them,
Oh my goodness.
and they're just so much bigger than you realize. I think is
yeah.
what it is for me. Is like I was in awe of how big this animal was.
I love a camel, he says.
Dude, if you go to the Stone Zoo, they got a bunch of camels there.
Like, I love lions. I love.
The one thing
Yeah,
the one thing I regret in my military service is never riding a camel in Egypt. But then again, I don't regret it because they try to con you for money when you ride those.
Sure.
They say it's free ride, free ride, free
It's not
ride, and
free.
then you
Nothing's
get
free.
on, and then they won't let you down if you don't pay them.
Ah, you're stuck on a
But
camel.
I never rode the camel.
Well, you
But
take a picture and show it to Andrew. He loves camels.
I'm a big fan. I think they're awesome.
I'll show you a picture of Brendan on a camel.
He got on.
He got on.
I love pictures of camels.
Right?
I don't know.
That's a weird
I love
obsession to
lions.
have.
Yeah. And so that was episode 11.
Now we're on the
I'm sorry,
last.
that was 10.
That was 10.
This is episode 11
This was
right
the
here.
last episode of 2023. This
Yep.
next one.
We thought, why not bring in another family member?
Can't wait.
And this is a big one for me and
Who did we
Dave.
bring in? Who do we bring in?
We brought in Miss Laura Figueredo,
Who's that?
who is the mother of David and I.
Hi, Mom.
These two guys.
Yeah.
This is so fun.
And beyond just being mother, and it's honestly, it's so funny because I never really thought about it until we started doing this, but daughter, sister, mother to veterans.
Yeah.
And how about all of the perspectives that come along? And we're going to get into that in a little bit. But Mom, thank you so much for coming aboard. How you feeling?
Good.
Good.
Yeah.
She always is
Welcome, Mom.
Yeah.
I'm gonna call you
Call
Mom
her
from
Mom,
now.
absolutely.
Yeah, I'm gonna call you Mom because I
With-
call everybody
And
Mom.
me and V
and-
addressed her like the memo was to wear all
Twinsies.
white, and so we are brother and sister
we
in
did
so
not
many
coordinate
ways.
this,
Not
but
at all.
it worked out.
What a cool family. Right? We got a sister now. We didn't have one. Now we got one. And
Yeah.
She always wanted a
She
girl.
looks so not nervous.
None. She was a natural.
Oh, she was
cow.
so nervous. I can't tell you how many
was?
phone calls I got.
But she on the
She looked like a natural.
Yeah.
right? And she was
Yeah.
just chilling.
Yeah.
I told her she killed
Not a
it.
care in the world.
Yeah.
Wow. I loved it.
But so now would be a good time for me to bring up the 6 pictures, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
This will show you who she's.
Just to put in perspective what I was talking about being daughter,
Right.
sister, mother, aunt.
There are many families like this.
To all of these.
Yep.
Right? Like my mom's testimony is that's her father, upper left, World War II, 2 Vietnam veteran brothers, 2 sons that deployed at the same time to Iraq, and now her nephew who's deployed out there actively right now.
Yeah.
And how many families are like this? Families have veterans. They have active duty members right now. Could be any family here in Gloucester. There are a lot
And
of them.
with the 2 sons that were both active duty Iraq, Afghanistan war veterans, she was still raising children.
She raised you.
So she would have some traumatic. Go and watch episode 11, people. She would have some traumatic situations, phone calls, emails, whatever happened.
Phone calls.
I forgot.
That was a
that's
tough
right.
phone call. Yeah.
V doesn't.
Wonder
she's
what
mad
kind
at
of phone
me.
call that
Well,
was.
Just to highlight, I was in Kenya at the bombing, and I had called. I finally got a phone call, and I called her, and I guess it was 1, 2, 3 a.m. V's not happy with this because she's a mom. She gets
I
it.
am a mom, so I put myself,
Right,
when
I
she was
know.
giving her testimony, I put myself in her shoes.
I could tell. Are you
She
mad at
hit me hard, yeah.
And
Yeah, that was
she
a
had
big
to.
one.
She had to get. I got off the phone very quickly to let her know I was in a terrorist bombing in Kenya in that mission, and then left.
You
in the
didn't give
middle
her
of
an
the night.
explanation, nothing.
And then she had to go raise 2 younger sons after that and
Yeah.
just flip a switch
And
go
pretend
mission
nothing
mode.
happened.
And you
Yeah,
can't-
she went mission mode,
Yeah,
right?
How
straight up.
impossible.
Yeah.
When I say it out loud, I get now why it makes sense I was wrong, but I had to get it off somehow
I'd choke
too.
you out myself.
You look like you want to do it right now.
I mean, my kids do that to me.
I know.
Oh.
I totally get it now. I didn't know back then.
Hmm.
But wow, to look at how the family members go through it and do it.
Right.
And then how old were you at that time?
You were
8,
not-
9.
You were young.
Yeah, you're 9 years old.
Yeah, not even double digits.
So to receive that call in the middle of the night, what was it, 3 a.m. or something? It was in the middle of the night to receive that call, and then you frantically hang up and leave her hanging, and then now she has to process this for a few more hours by herself.
Yeah.
She has to
Well, when you
process
say it
this.
like that.
And then she needs to.
Sounds horrible.
No, and then she needs to turn it off, right? And she needs to put her mom hat back on.
Yeah.
And now she needs to take care
That's
of
right.
your younger brother.
Yeah.
Dare you?
V, you totally make it sound horrible when you say it out loud like that. So I'm kind of maybe leaning towards your side.
Mom is a Wonder Woman.
You got to meet
She
her and you
definitely
get
is
She's
I
tough.
did.
She's a tough woman.
And she had a call to action to other mothers.
Mhm.
So let me bring this up
You
here.
did that thing where you said, "What would you say to a younger
Yes.
mothers?" The
It's
question
to mothers. Yeah. Mom, thank you so much. Any last words or anything? If you could speak directly to a current mother of a veteran or of current active duty.
Active duty. Yeah, I know
right.
many moms out there that have youngins.
What would you
going in.
What would you say to that mother?
Well, I think that if you feel that you really need to talk to someone, because it is hard to navigate the field, as we've said, to holding such a heavy heart in being there for your other kids. And again, this resource is great because, or get counseling or reach out to somebody, whether it be at your church or a friend, and let them know how heavy hearted you are so that it can help out. And I do think it's good too to talk to your kids. I wish I had done more with my kids, because realizing, like Andrew and my son Matthew, who are young, they had a lot as well, but I didn't realize that I should have been communicating with them as well.
She comes from a generation that wasn't really communicative. They would grind it out with their children, their youngins, while they were, had sons in a war zone. Like, that's what they did. That's her generation. And she recognizes now the importance of communicating in group work and
that peer support.
That peer support.
That we just keep hammering.
Yeah.
And it's when you're with your peers, you realize you're not alone, right? Like they served, they saw their own bag of tricks. You all can just be with each other and just enjoy each other's company. And once a topic comes up that you can relate to and talk about, a door opens.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Yeah, so the hardest part for us as veterans is that initial transition, right? So our minds have been reprogrammed, right? We have been restructured to think and speak a certain way. And then we come home and we find that we're not as relatable with our civilian counterparts as we used to be before we were reprogrammed. And so just finding that commonality with someone begins to develop that level of trust that you and I would need to really process what we encountered and really put it out there. And so that's why peer support works. Right, because we are once again finding some sort of commonality with someone that can really relate to what our experiences were, and again develop that trustworthiness to know that whether you have some resources to offer or not, know that they truly understand and are comprehending what it is that you are putting out there.
Yeah. Well, this has been 1 year.
Mhm.
Thank
One-year
you for
episode.
Happy
veterans,
birthday.
everyone who's been following us for a year or a day, I don't know, but thanks for coming through this episode of a year. And we have a cake.
Cool. It's really cool.
That we're gonna. Can we eat it now? Can we get into it?
Yeah, now we can cut it.
Wait. Because, I mean, I know it's just us three here that put on this podcast, but we have
There are
more
other
than just.
people?
There's other people
Should
that
we
put
bring
this
them in?
together.
Yeah, I'm down to bring them in.
Bring them in.
Come on in. Can they come in? Can they leave?
I think
what-
Isaac
what
can
they
leave his
do?
station if he just leaves it on camera
Andrew's
too.
the boss, so,
So
he's
we
gonna
can
let
see
other
we can
people
see
come in.
Isaac,
Isaac,
who
You can see some of the
works behind the
cameras.
scenes,
Yeah.
behind the black
Come on in.
curtain.
I'm cutting the cake. Oh, you cut the cake.
You want me to cut the cake?
Yeah.
Isaac can cut the cake.
Isaac, cut the cake. Isaac, say hi to the cameras. You know which one to look at more than I do. You know I'm the. We're gonna cut
Isaac
the cake.
Isaac is just he's
I don't know how to
served
cut
a
a
lot
cake.
of episodes, but
I'm
Kent
gonna just stab it.
has served a lot of episodes. Mr. Andrew Boga has served a lot of episodes.
These are the men,
Michael
men
Cook
behind the curtain.
Yeah,
They
behind
do
the
a lot of the
curtain.
work that most people don't know
Oh
in
my.
production and camera. I don't know it.
Don't
Yeah,
judge
yeah,
me. We
yeah.
should have just dove into this
Can we do
cake.
that?
Yeah, just straight up
just
fork it.
Just fork it. Just go
Don't
for it.
swear on.
I said fork.
Okay.
Their mother's watching.
Oh, this is
I am a mother.
This is great.
Is Michael still out there, or did he head out?
Yeah, he's still out there.
Does he want cake?
Well, everyone, that was episode number 12. 1 year.
Well, that's 1 year.
Of this, and we're going to keep doing it. The calls to action remain the same. Veterans, we love you. We care about you. We care about what you're thinking about. We care about what you're going through, your emotions. Don't hurt yourself. Don't isolate. Use the resources. Walk in and talk to V.
We're
and
here to
just
support
everyone.
you, and we're here to
support you.
connect you and help you navigate those
Yes.
resources that you need.
Taking 17 a day, and we're going to bring it all the way
Yep.
down and expose the darkness so not one person wants to hurt themselves.
Yep.
And maybe you can come in and tell a story and enjoy some cake.
You're welcome to.
Anytime. Thank you all so much. This is episode number 12 in the books. We'll see you next month.